The honourable member for Brampton West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, I heard from my friend's speech that the point of this appears to be to keep the metals in Canada. As a general theory, I support that. But I want to point out a couple factors from the bill. Section 3, sub 2, A and B. It says subsection 1, in terms of what the prohibition is, does not apply to the transfer of an insignia to a near relative of the owner of the insignia. Obviously, that person could live outside of Canada. So if the goal of the bill is to keep these various metals inside Canada, it doesn't do it entirely. Secondly, in sub B, it says an heir of the owner of the insignia upon the death of the owner. Well, the heir obviously could live outside of Canada too. So if once again the point is to keep the metals inside of Canada, you need to do something different. So I'll just leave that with you. The other point is, how is this going to be enforced? So perhaps you want to put this on a customs declaration form when they're coming and going in terms of metals. Like something has to be thought of so that if you really actually want this bill to do something, it has some form of mechanism. Now, so in terms of the general concept, I support the bill. I have no problem with it. But this is my particular problem. We're here discussing medals of veterans and not veterans. And the honourable member has indicated previously that he sees this as an opportunity, and this is his quote, an opportunity to honour our veterans and support our troops. Okay, well, I like the goal, but this bill doesn't do that. And what I'd like to review is the failings, multiple failings of this government in terms of veterans, because he's brought a bill forward in terms of veterans. That's what we should be discussing, how we're helping veterans, not worrying about the medals in terms of a focus. One, St. Anne's. There's the one remaining national hospital is in St. Anne's in Quebec. Now, in the last fall, the Conservatives announced that they were considering transferring that to the province of Quebec. Now, the issue is not whether it should be or shouldn't be transferred. The issue is, where's the treatment going to come from? Who's going to take care of these various veterans? And in circumstances where veterans are aging and they will require long-term care in beds, where is that going to come from? We have veterans that will be coming back from Afghanistan. Their serious issue is post-traumatic stress disorder. Where are they going to find those beds? Who's going to take care of them? So there needs to be a national strategy for that. And when I hear that they're simply going to transfer the last remaining hospital, in theory, to Quebec, I want to know the practical effect of that. And that's not been addressed. And I will say that that particular transfer has been opposed by 57 different veterans groups comprised of the National Council of Veterans Associations. Now, regular forces who are coming back this is a significant problem in Canada in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder. They rely upon this particular hospital to go and get their treatment.
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I've reviewed the bill, and I believe the speech being delivered by the honourable member has nothing to do with it. I would ask that the chair call the member to order insofar as remarks are not pertinent to the matter on the floor.
Just remind the member the rules of relevance to ensure that he keeps his remarks as closely as possible to the private member's bill before the floor.
Yeah, and this is, Mr. Speaker, maybe we should look at the bill and see what it talks about, because it talks about veterans. And it specifically refers to them. And I don't know how it can possibly be argued that this doesn't deal with veterans. My friend wants to interrupt, that's fine, but I don't think it's a valid interruption. In terms of these continued issues with respect to veterans, homelessness. This is a severe problem. The Veterans Ombudsman, Pat Strogren, last year took the Conservatives to task for not doing enough about homeless veterans. Since then, nothing has been done. The Ombudsman's Office for Veterans, the advocate Claudia Schreiber, indicated that the mandate and authority of the Veterans Ombudsman is very weak. Complains about it. Nothing's been done. As well, the same individual, the veterans advocate, has indicated that the department is spending more and more money in terms of discounting and denying veterans' claims than they actually are in terms of helping them. The budget in terms of the department. I'd like to know from my friend in terms of this bill why the Veterans Department is returning so many millions of dollars to the Department of Finance when, in fact, this money could be used and spent on behalf of veterans.
I know the honourable member may be bringing his remarks close to the bill. Maybe I'll just read the title of the bill again. This is Bill C-473, an act to protect insignia of military orders, decorations, and medals of cultural significance for future generations. So while in an abstract way it may have something to do with veterans, it is very specifically aimed at insignia of military orders, decorations, and medals of cultural significance. So the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration has made a point of relevance. I would encourage the member for Brampton to speak to the substance of the bill at second reading.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, we're talking about medals and insignias of veterans, I presume, because that's who gets them, right? And we're talking about the veterans having to sell these various medals and insignia to get money. The reason they have to sell these medals and insignia to get money is because of the dire circumstances that they find themselves in, because of the income that they are not receiving from the government, because of the medical assistance that they require because of the various disorders that they get from fighting in combat and coming back to Canada. They can't afford to pay for the treatment on their own, and they're not getting it from the Veterans Department, so they then have to consider selling their medals and insignia. They are living homeless. There's a Calgary shelter, as you may know, that has over 40 veterans there. I'd like to know why they would have to sell their medals and insignia to try to find some place to live, rather than being able to keep them and not have to donate them or try to sell them to other institutions. I'd like to know why the Conservative government's promise in terms of compensating victims for Agent Orange and holding a public inquiry hasn't taken place yet, because perhaps if that had taken place, they would have had money and they wouldn't have to consider selling their medals and insignia. I'd like to know why the Conservatives' promise to extend the home care program for all widows and veterans hasn't yet taken place, because if that had taken place, perhaps they wouldn't have to consider selling their medals and insignia. I'd like to know why the resolution of the Conservatives' promise to resolve the clawback of service of income security plan pensions for disabled veterans has been broken and not been taken care of, because perhaps if it had been and they had more money, they wouldn't have to worry about selling their medals and insignia.
The honourable member for Simcoe North is rising on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, clearly, with the greatest of respect to the honourable member, this narrative is completely beyond the bounds of relevance to the topic at hand. I would encourage the chair to please get the member to get back on topic, or perhaps you may want to consider, Mr. Speaker, moving on in the debate. But again, with the greatest of respect, these points might be heartfelt, but they're just not on topic, Mr. Speaker.
Well, there is only 1 minute left for the member's remarks, so perhaps, while I understand he has tried to make a link towards to the topic that he was focusing on, to the substance of the bill, there is only a minute left, so if he can wrap up his remarks by tying in. The chair does give some latitude at second reading on bills, but a number of points have been raised on relevance, so if he could conclude his remarks by staying as closely as possible to the substance of the bill, the chair would appreciate it.
Thank you. So I think it's quite correct that this particular hour is a non-partisan hour, and I think it should be very non-partisan, that veterans deserve better and they should be helped, and not have to be put in a situation where they're considering to sell their medals and insignia. So I will end on that, and thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Les prises du débat. Honorable